What is going on, everyone? Let's try something new and just talk about Chicago. The Windy City, Chi-Town, Second City, the City of Big Shoulders. This place has a lot of nicknames. Chicago is the third most populous city in the United States, following New York and Los Angeles. It is an international hub of finance, culture, commerce, industry, education, technology, telecommunications, and transportation. Actually, when you're talking about trains, all roads lead to Chicago is pretty much the deal. In 2018, they set a new record for the most tourists, with 58 million to be exact, and have been voted the best large city in the US for 4 years in a row. They've got a lot of history too. The first known non-indigenous settler in Chicago was Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable. If you're from Kansas, that's pronounced Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable. He is known as the founder of Chicago and arrived around 1780. Chicago was incorporated into a city on March 4th, 1837. The Great Chicago Fire happened in 1871, which destroyed an area about 4 miles long and about 1 mile wide. This was a huge section of the city at the time. As Chicago began to grow in the 1850s, many streets and buildings had to be raised 5 to 8 feet to install a sewer system. Unfortunately, the buildings, streets, and sidewalks were made of wood, and most of them burned to the ground during the fire. Chicago has had a lot of famous people that came from there, lived here, whatever. Probably the most famous and legendary is gangster Al Capone. Chicago was his base of operation. He was originally from Brooklyn, New York, but he, pretty much made his name and career in Chicago. Oddly enough, this helped ruin Geraldo Rivera's career, looking into what was called Al Capone's vaults. Turned up being Big Nothing Sandwich. Oh, it was great. It was all over the television. They were going to open up Al Capone's vaults underneath some buildings, and they got excavators in there, and they did live on television. They found some old bottles, used bottles. There wasn't anything in them, like old Coke bottles. That was it. Speaking of criminal activities, there have been 1,642 public corruption convictions since 1976, when the Department of Justice began compiling the statistics. This has made Chicago the most corrupt city in the nation, with a cost of corruption being at least $500 million per year. In the 1980s, the FBI's Operation Gaylord uncovered massive and systematic corruption in Chicago's judicial system. Gaylord was the longest and most successful undercover operation in the history of the FBI and resulted in 92 federal indictments, including 17 judges, 48 lawyers, 8 policemen, 10 deputy sheriffs, 8 court officials, and 1 state legislator. Nearly all were convicted for a variety of charges, including bribery, kickbacks, fraud, buying votes, racketeering, and drug trafficking. Like I said earlier, Chicago is the third most populous city in the United States. In 2000, they had 2.9 million residents. That's just in the city, that's not the metro area. The metro area almost has 10 million residents. Like New York, they are actually shrinking in population right now. In 2020, the city only had 2.6 million residents. The highest recorded population of the city of Chicago was in the 1950s, when they had 3.6 million residents. Industries then and now. The city became an important transportation hub between the eastern and western United States. Chicago's first railway was Galena and Chicago Union Railroad, and the Illinois and Michigan Canal opened in 1848, which allowed steamboats and sailing ships on the Great Lakes to connect to the Mississippi River. Today, 50% of U.S. rail freight continues to pass through Chicago, even as the city has become the nation's busiest aviation center thanks to O'Hare and Midway International Airports. Manufacturing, retail, and finance sectors have become dominant in Chicago, and they help influence America's economy. The Chicago Board of Trade, established in 1848, listed the first ever standardized exchange trade forward contract, which were called futures. Neighborhoods. Chicago has a really bad reputation for having some really bad neighborhoods, and that reputation is well earned. But that's not all there is to Chicago. Chicago has some beautiful, amazing, historic neighborhoods that are often overlooked because in the South Side and parts of the West Side, it's really easy to pick up a bullet in the chest or the back or something like that. Tourists often report that the police pulled them over when they've strayed too far south and tell them, no, you don't want to go around here. You want to head back up the other way. Because they're driving into extremely dangerous neighborhoods where they will become a professional victim. Probably one of the best neighborhoods in Chicago, statistically speaking, is Indian Head Park. They have a livability score of 90 out of 100. The median home value here is only $237,000. Now that's the median. Don't give us a hard time. That's not the average. Probably the worst neighborhood in Chicago is West Garfield Park. Stay out of here at all costs. Their crime rate is 396% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 9 chance of becoming a victim of a crime in West Garfield Park. When it comes to bad neighborhoods, the locals have their different opinion on what it's going to be, but statistically, West Garfield Park's going to be the absolute worst. The crime rate. The crime rate as a whole in Chicago is not good. I mean, like I said, they got some really nice neighborhoods, but they got some incredibly bad neighborhoods that drag the whole city down. Their crime rate is 58% higher than the national average, which, that's bad. It's not the absolute worst in the country. In the entire city, you have a 1 in 26 chance of being the victim of a crime, but the year after year crime rate has decreased by 6%. That's 2020 numbers, which we all know are a little skewed because of COVID. It's probably picked up considerably in 2021. The cost of living. The cost of living in Chicago is rated a D. They are 14% higher than the state average and 11% higher than the national average. That's not terrible. There's places that are so much worse, San Francisco being one of them. In the entire city of Chicago, the housing costs are 17% higher than the national average, and goods and services are about 14% higher. The typical home price in Chicago is about $350,000. That's 2 or 4 bedroom home. Obviously, they have some multi-million-dollar homes, and they have some that they would probably give you $50 just to take off their hands. So when you get to about the middle, it's $350,000. The food of Chicago. Chicago is known for their deep dish pizza. That's what we all call it. In Chicago, they call it pizza. But there's a Chicago-style pizza that is absolutely amazing. I love Giordano's. They're perfect. There's also Lou Malinotti's, which is also really, really good. You can have both of those shipped to your home no matter where you are in the country. Chicago has about 50 other places that are worth eating pizza at. It's a great place for pizza. Other places you want to eat while visiting there, Super Dog Drive-In. That's Super Dog spelled D-A-W-G. This is an old school dining place where people actually park and eat in their cars. It's not your traditional hot dog though. It's a Vienna beef frank, all beef, thick sausages that come with mustard, pickles, green tomatoes, chopped Spanish onions, and I don't think you'll find ketchup here either. Never tried, but I doubt it. Another place you want to eat here is Honey Butter Fried Chicken. This is a North Side staple. It's a bit spendy, but they serve crisp and skinless chicken with their signature honey butter. It's really good. I ate there last time I was in Chicago. I probably gained 5 pounds on their chicken alone. If you want good, thin pizza in Chicago, you got to go to Pat's Pizza and Restaurante. This is a family-owned location that serves some of the crispiest, thinnest pizza in Chicago. Pat also uses his own sausage blend for the pizza, which helps set the place, makes it totally different from every place else. What tourists do in Chicago. First thing you got to do is head to the John Hancock Center, go to the 94th floor, and hit the 360 Chicago observation deck. Here you can see views of Chicago's skyline, lakefront, and 4 other states. It's that high up. They also have this thing where you kind of stand on a platform that's over the edge of the building, glass. It's uncomfortable. You have to go to Millennium Park and take a picture with the bean. That's that big silver bean out in the middle of a park that so many people take pictures of, but it's kind of one of those places that you got to do the selfie at to up your Instagram game. The Chicago Cultural Center. This is the nation's first free municipal cultural center and one of the most visited attractions in Chicago. The building was opened in 1897 as the city's first public library. Head over to Navy Pier, originally opened in 1916 as an amusement area and shipping facility, but now it's one of Chicago's most popular tourist attractions. It has 50 acres of gardens, attractions, shops, restaurants, concert venues, and everything. Just head to Navy Pier. Just get in a cab, in an Uber, and say Navy Pier. They'll take you right there. Also, if you want to up your Instagram game, head to Buckingham Fountain. This one's probably, I'd say, a little more popular than the Bean. It's been around longer. It was built in 1927, and every single day from 8 to 11 p.m., it comes to life with a water show, shooting about 15,000 gallons. per minute through 200 nozzles. Lincoln Park Zoo is pretty nice, but one of my favorite things to do and see in Chicago besides eat pizza is the Shed Aquarium. This is a great aquarium. They have belugas, sharks, this thing called the Caribbean Reef, which you just stare at that thing for an hour. Sports. Chicago is a sports town. Whether you believe it or not, they are. They have legendary teams like the Chicago Bears in the NFL, the Chicago Blackhawks in the NHL. The NBA has the Bulls. They have two Major League Baseball teams, the Cubs and the White Sox. The White Sox are one of my favorite teams. They actually threw the World Series in 1919, earning them the name the Black Sox. They have the Chicago Fire in soccer and Chicago Sky, which is part of the WNBA. In case you don't know, Michael Jordan played for the Chicago Bulls, and he really put them on the map. I mean, everyone knew about the Bulls and all that, but they became a household name because of Michael Jordan. The 1985 Bears won the World Series, and that was probably one of the most epic seasons ever. 15-1 record. Born and raised in Chicago. The list of people born and raised in Chicago is too lengthy for me to talk about in probably an hour video, but I'm going to give it a shot. Ernest Hemingway, he was born and raised in the Chicago suburb of Oak Park. Gary Gygax, the inventor of Dungeons and Dragons. Roger Ebert, he was an author and film critic. Ray Bradbury. Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. Robert Hansen, FBI agent convicted of spying for Russia. Gillian Anderson from The X-Files. Jim Belushi, John Belushi. Jack Benny, Tom Berenger. Michael Ian Black. Tom Bosley. Remember Happy Days, the dad? Steve Carell. Alan Carr. Walt Disney. Harrison Ford. Red Fox. Hugh Hefner. Mary Lou Henner. Harvey Korman. He was great. Bill Murray. I could go on and on. In a nutshell, here's my opinion on Chicago. Chicago is an amazing city with great food, great people, wonderful things to do. It has its problems. Got some crime that's pretty much out of control in some areas, but I still think Chicago's worth the visit if you watch where you go. It's not one of those places that's so violent that you should avoid the city at all costs. It's not that terribly bad. Some areas, yes, not the entire city. I think if you avoided Chicago and not visit and not spend some time there, you'd be making a mistake. All right, that's today's video. How'd you like it? What did you think? It's a little bit of a different format. I thought we'd do more of these. Let me know what you think's missing, what you don't like about it, what you do like about it in the comment section below. We'd love to hear about it. Constructive criticism only. Let's not be totally negative. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.